Hey, Joy, what time is it?
It's time for the Cruise Day Fun podcast.
That's right. It's our very first Cruise Day Fun podcast.
Whoop, whoop.
What was that? Is
It's
that going to be part of our podcast features?
Yeah, it's excitement.
Okay,
Woo-hoo.
so we're glad you're with us. This is our very first podcast. Okay, there's going to be a lot of that apparently. If you watched our live shows in the past, it's going to be kind of similar. It's just not live. Okay, that's great. So
we're live though.
Somewhat. So instead of the live show, at a specific time where we're trying to get everybody to tune in, I've decided to record these instead in a similar format, and you can tune in when it's convenient for you, but you'll want to be sure that you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Otherwise, you may not even know that we did a new podcast. This is our very first podcast. You understand the difference between a podcast and a live show?
No, but I know we're alive.
So our podcast is going to be set up so you can listen to the audio and enjoy it when you're on the go, or you can watch the video. Either way.
And see how marvelous we still look.
Speak for yourself. And you can still find it on YouTube. We're going to cover one specific topic of cruise information each podcast episode, and we're even planning to do some special interviews again because we got a great response when we did that on our live show. What is our very first Cruise Day Fun podcast topic?
It is embarkation.
Embarkation. How appropriate for embarking on a new adventure such as a podcast to cover embarkation. So shall we get into it?
Yes, let's get into it.
Okay. So what are you doing? No. What? What is the embarkation? Just for anybody that doesn't know, what does embarkation mean when it comes to a cruise?
It means you're getting on board the ship. You're embarking on or getting on the ship.
That's right. It's a big part of your first day of your cruise, the day you get on board. It's part of cruise day.
It's the first day of your cruise.
Yeah. Yes, but embarkation is the experience of getting on board. So what is the first thing or the first things you do after you arrive at the cruise port?
You park your car.
Well, okay. You've parked your car. You got out of the shuttle. The Uber or Lyft dropped you off. What do you do now?
Now you get into the line to go into the
cruise terminal.
The cruise terminal, yeah. Exactly.
And you may have dropped off your luggage curbside with the what do you call them? The bellhops.
The cruise port.
Yeah, there's employees there that help get your bags on board, so you don't have to carry all your bags with you until the room's ready.
They're very friendly, and they really like being tipped.
Yeah, I do too. If you'd like to tip us, hit the thanks button below. Wow, nice segue. So the first thing you're going to do after you've parked your car, maybe you dropped off your bags and you parked your car, you head into the terminal. Sometimes there's a line outside. At Port Canaveral, we've experienced both, where there's a line outside and you got to wait a little while. And we've also had the experience where you go right into the building.
Right.
But let's say we went right into the building. We're in the building now. What's the first thing you usually encounter there?
The people directing traffic or directing people to go into the line.
Okay, inside the building.
Right.
Okay. So I'm trying to get to what's next. Now, there's a couple different ways they do it. The first thing you encounter could be security, right?
Right.
Or we've also had it happen where they actually do kind of the check-in, where they get your information, maybe take your photo, all that stuff.
Yep.
But we've had it in both orders. But you're going to, inside the terminal, you're going to experience security, just like kind of like at the airport, where you're going through the what do you call it? The radar detector, not the
screeners. The screeners.
You
the
go
people
through the
that
screeners.
Screen the luggages.
Like TSA?
Yeah, like TSA. They screen your luggage.
Yeah, and there's usually a conveyor belt.
Make sure that
there's put your bags
and everything, and make sure that there's no dangerous items.
Yep.
Like putting an axe pick in my backpack.
It's a railroad spike.
Oh, railroad
spike. You make it sound like it was so bad. I just put a railroad spike in one of your bags, and I still never hear the end of it.
Yeah, because I'm the one who got singled out and said, "Ma'am, what's in your backpack?"
You volunteered to put it in your bag.
I know.
It was a souvenir railroad spike from the Skagway Railway, the White Pass Railway up there, and it was a spike.
I'm the one that got frisked, though.
They frisk you?
I think so.
that's just the way you're remembering it. You're
They
like,
asked me
"Yeah,
a lot of questions.
that really cute security guards took me in back and frisked me." It's a bottle opener. One of these times we got to bring it with us and show people. But hey, it's a podcast. Some people might just be
It was
listening.
a huge spike.
It takes a big spike to keep a railroad track in the ground. Okay,
Okay.
let's continue. I think we're getting off track already. On our very first podcast, we are off the rails
Aw.
talking about railroad spikes. So what else should you expect in the cruise terminal?
So they give you they make sure you have your ticket, your cruise ticket.
Cruise ticket? Oh, you like your boarding pass?
Yeah, your
Yep.
boarding pass. And then they tell you to go on to the gangway, follow everyone else onto the gangway.
Yeah, but you might have to wait. We've also had happen where you go through everything and you're there a little early or they're running a little late and you might have to sit down and wait for a little while.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
that at that time you want to go to the bathroom, you want to take pictures next to the model ship, next to
Well, you're thinking of the Disney terminal. I can tell right now. You're thinking of that
other
Disney
ships,
Dream, I think it is.
Other ships sometimes have
Photo ops.
photo ops.
Yeah, that's true.
Or you can take pictures with the cruise ship or take pictures of the cruise ship outside. Or
Oh, yeah, you can usually see, well, not always, but sometimes you can see the cruise ship out
Yeah.
from the terminal.
They
from
have
the side.
photo opportunities.
Okay, they do. Well, let's move on. And we're getting into the part that you'll like.
Yeah.
The part that
The
we always
drinking.
like the most is where you're actually getting to start walking the gangway to get on board.
Yes.
And if you like that experience and you're liking what we're sharing here, be sure to hit the thumbs up icon below to let us know you like this video. It really helps us out and it helps other people find this crazy content of ours like this podcast.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about that experience. You've been called. Your boarding group is
Woohoo!
next. Get in line, head through the doors.
Yes.
And you're now, so what's it going to be like? In most of our experiences, how do you board? Do
You just
go up?
follow everyone else.
Yeah, but can you paint a better picture?
So
Is there like a piece of wood or a ladder next to the cruise ship?
no, it's a gangway. Like
What's that? What's a gangway?
The kind where when you're going onto an airplane, they have that walkway.
Okay, the
between
jetway. Yeah,
the jetway. So you're walking in a jetway, and sometimes you just make like turns and stuff
yeah.
onto the gangway.
Yeah, and it depends on what the home port is, but usually what we've experienced and what we've always experienced at Port Canaveral, for example, where we usually cruise out of, is that it's like this glassed-in hallway, like when you board a plane, but there's windows on these, so it's not maybe quite as claustrophobic.
Right.
And it might, like Joy is indicating, you might go up a little ways and then have to circle and go back and up and kind of like gradually going higher and higher till you get to the level that you have to board on, because
Exactly.
sometimes you're boarding several decks up from the level of the water. So
Right.
it's
You're not going underwater because that would be tough.
boarding underwater would not be probably the smartest way to do it. Why would you?
Well,
Okay.
I'm just saying,
Like have a hatch.
it's not at the dock level. It's,
Yeah.
as you said, a couple levels up.
See, I think it's good that you point out these specific things, because this is in case anybody's watching was wondering, thinking this was a submarine cruise. This is not a submarine cruise. This is a cruise ship, like
Yes.
Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian, Celebrity, all those with the big ships on the water.
But they
Maybe we
rarely
should have
have
started
you.
more basic.
They rarely have you get on the dock side or the dock level.
Yeah, at the home port. Yep.
Right. They have you go up like 2 or 3 or 5 floors up.
But never 4. Yep. But when you get to port of call, a lot of times they'll just have that kind of, it almost is like
gangway or
like
gangplank.
a metal ramp
Uh-huh.
to walk directly onto the pier that's right on
So
the water
usually
level.
you have to go to the lowest point
But
of
we're
the
not
ship.
we're talking about
Right.
embarkation today.
Yes.
Save that for a future podcast.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, let's say we've gone on the gangway. We're on the ship.
Yes, you cross the plank or the gangway,
Yeah.
and you step onto the ship.
The actual deck.
Usually there's someone there to help you cross over onto the ship.
Yeah.
If you need help, you know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I know I did. Uh-huh.
And
And
then they
sometimes they're
say,
just there greeting you. We've even seen them playing music, having somebody there playing
yeah.
music. Yeah.
And sometimes they say, "Welcome to this cruise line."
I think they need to work on that a little bit.
Well,
Welcome to Cruise
cruise
Line
line.
Unknown. Yes.
You're on the welcome to Carnival Magic
Okay,
or
well-
Disney or Royal or whatever
Two
cruise
out of
line
the,
you're going
two out
on.
of three of those do have ships called Magic. So I thought you were referring to Disney because you got Disney on the brain because that was our last cruise we were on. We went on another Disney ship, and they do a very special thing when you board.
Yes, I like how Disney.
As soon as you go inside, you go in their great hall or their atrium or whatever you want to call it. What do they do?
They all stand in a line, and one of them says, "What's your family's last name?" And you tell them, and they said, "Welcome the Minnick family."
You couldn't come up with a name right there.
Oh, I didn't know we were supposed to. Welcome to Minnie's house.
They don't say that.
Okay.
Why didn't? Okay. Anyway, they welcome you. Oh boy. So you're on board. Maybe you've been greeted.
Yep.
Maybe you just walked on and you just did that thing where you cheer when you take the first step on to the actual ship. What should you do? What's the first thing you should do on the ship once you've actually been greeted or not?
I like to go to the buffet and get food or find a place where there's not all the people that's going to the buffet and see if they have a smaller venue.
So you don't. So you look for a place that's not super crowded, but it sounds like you also look for food.
Yeah, I look for food because I'm usually hungry.
I think that's usually the first place that most people go is they go look for food, and it usually is the buffet on most cruise lines, most cruise ships.
Yep.
There are other options. There are other things that you may need to or want to do before you go to get your first bite of food. Sometimes they'll send you directly to do the muster drill, the safety drill, but usually you get to wait a little while before you have to do that.
Yeah.
There's some other things you may want to do.
Is go to your room.
Well, if you a lot of times rooms aren't ready right away.
I know.
Don't get sad. You're on a cruise. Calm down. So what if you really wanted to do the behind the scenes tour of the ship and you couldn't reserve it ahead of time? Or what if you tried to reserve a specialty restaurant and it was sold out?
You want to go to guest services right away.
Or to the restaurant and talk to the maitre d' if it's a restaurant situation.
Exactly.
Yep. Go use that time when you first board. This is like one of our first really big tips for when it comes to embarkation. Go take care of those things that you want help with. Like if you need to talk to maitre d' about the sitting of your table, if you want to be sure that you have a table just for the two of you because it's your anniversary. If you couldn't get into like Palo Brunch, a couple times we've gone right away and
to
asked.
A specialty restaurant.
Yep. Or if you want to change a time on something, or if there was some special excursion or something else that you wanted to reserve, spa, whatever it is. Don't wait. If you wait until like the next day, especially if it's a sea day, probably everybody else is starting to think of that.
Right.
So take care of that when you first get on board.
Yep.
You're right about going to the buffet. That's what most people do, and that's kind of where people kind of steer you. But at least on most cruise lines.
Yep.
But what other options are there sometimes for food? Can you think of other places you could go on board that might be available when you first board to go to eat?
So there are some places that they offer free food besides the buffet. I mean, if they have like a hot dog stand, a pizza stand, ice cream.
We can talk about specific examples for our specific cruise lines because you mentioned hot dog stand. So Royal Caribbean has I think it's called the Dog Shack. You can go there on the first day, and while we're on Royal Caribbean, Sorrento's or the Promenade Cafe, I think it's called. They've got complimentary pizza. So if you want to avoid the crowd, but you still want to get some food, that's a good place to go. Or
if you just want to get your vacation cruise drink started, go to one of the bars. Usually the bars aren't that full because everyone's on the pool deck. So if you go to one of the bars and just order your first cruise drink.
Oh boy. Yep.
Get your cruise day going on.
Yeah, a lot
Cruise
of people.
day fun going on.
Right. A lot of people are very anxious to get that first drink. Usually you'll find a lot of that happening on the Lido deck, on the pool deck, which is often right by the buffet. Like I'm thinking on Carnival, that's usually
Get your
Royal
cruise
Caribbean.
drink of the day.
You can get it there, but Joy's making a good point. You might be better off going to look at a different bar. Because I
Yeah.
know on our cruise on Norwegian, we decided to, after we did go to the buffet area, we decided to avoid the pool area, and we went to a lower deck. I think we actually went to the deck 8 the waterfront's on, and found that quiet little kind of, I think it was a Miami themed bar.
Right.
It had very comfortable big leather seats and very attentive service and some really great drinks, and that was a nice place to hang out for a while while we waited for our room to be ready.
Exactly.
So yeah, and all the restaurants and all the bars are probably not going to be opened when you first board. So, but there's usually other options.
Right.
And we'll get into more specific examples here in a minute.
Or you can explore the ship and see what's...
You can.
I always like to do that too if I'm waiting for my room to be ready.
Speaking of that, how long do you usually have to wait? When will you be able to get your stateroom or cabin?
Well, it definitely depends on how fast they can bring up the luggage. So,
well, no, I mean, I don't think they're waiting for the luggage. You're thinking about when you get your luggage to change and do all that kind of stuff, and when you might actually want to be in the room. Because if you don't have your luggage, maybe you don't have any reason to be in there. It varies. I guess that's the answer that I would.
It varies.
Good job. Yeah, it varies.
See how helpful I am?
They typically will announce either before you get on board, they'll tell you, hey, your rooms will be available at 1:00, or they'll make an announcement the rooms are now available, or it might be as subtle as they've got the doors to the on the decks with the rooms closed off until they're ready, and then they'll open them up. So that could be a little bit of a waiting game. Yeah. So if you're able to do your muster drill early, it's a good time to do that because you can't get your room, and your luggage probably isn't there either. And just because your room's available doesn't mean your luggage is there yet. Right. Those are two different operations. The housekeeping and the luggage delivery, two different operations.
Right. But, that's why you want to carry your carry-on that has all your swimsuit if you like to go swimming, or going to the jacuzzi, or a change of clothes, or your medicine, or anything other stuff that's important.
That's right. We kind of skipped over that. That's something we've talked about in several videos before. But what you want to do is, like Joy said, you're going to want to have separate groups of luggage for your party. And you're going to have the luggage stuff that you don't need until the evening and beyond, and that's it can be in the bigger suitcase that you hand off curbside, and they'll deliver it to your room. Right. But then, like Joy's talking about, having a backpack or some sort of carry-on size bag, like if you're going on a flight, it has your essentials, your medication. You're going to want to have your passports and your boarding pass in there because you're going to need that in the terminal.
Yep, your paperwork.
Any medication or anything special you might need, if like you said, bathing suit, if you're going to want to use the pool,
sombrero or hat.
A hat. Okay, I don't know if I get a whole full-size sombrero.
They have those collapsible hats that are really nice, that big up, that explode and are huge on your head.
And is that something essential to have for your carry-on?
For some people who want to avoid getting sunburned, yeah.
So you can see and hear a lot more of this informative content on the Cruise Day Fun podcast as we move forward. Speaking of moving forward, let's move on. Okay, so while you're waiting for your room,
yes,
we kind of touched on this a little bit already, but where else can you go? What are ideas for things to do while you're waiting for your room to be ready? You mentioned taking a tour of the ship.
Yes.
Exploring the ship. A lot of people do that. That's usually what happens. The crowd's mostly at the buffet, and then the crowd is wandering throughout the different corridors of the ship, the public areas. Sometimes which are completely nothing's happening except for people are wandering around like, ooh, what's this?
Kind of making a mental note of places you want to go and visit. Like, oh, I want to see that bar. Oh, that would be a great night to do bar hopping.
You're talking about bars.
Because I like bars. They're
I
fun.
know you do. So yeah, there's that. Also, there's the option that we mentioned earlier, which, also it was in the context of the bar. You can actually find a place to go sit down, quiet spot, people watch, play cards. just kind of relax after your day of travel, and maybe it was a little tiring waiting in line and going through the process of checking in, going to the terminal. Just find a quiet spot. And you know what? The nice thing about a cruise ship, which is different than a lot of other public areas like a hotel or a mall, is they've got public areas like clubs and like theaters and stuff that when they're not in use, it's basically just empty and open. You can kind of just go in there and sit down and relax. So you can find places to just sit.
Right. And there's sometimes music or bands playing.
That's right.
So you can sit by the band and people watch. And people watching, I don't know about you, but people watching is so much fun.
It can be, yes. And on the first day, we're talking about embarkation here, so most of the activity is going to be on the pool deck, or it's known often as the Lido deck.
They'll have a poolside party usually going on.
There's usually a sail away party when it's time for the ship to leave.
Exactly.
But yeah, let's talk about the order of events. You've arrived at the port. You've gotten in line, you've gone through security, you've done your check-in, you're on board.
Woohoo.
Then you're looking for food
and drinks.
And then you might be killing a little time before your room's ready.
Right.
Some point after your room's ready is usually on most of the cruises we've been on when they'll say you have to go to the muster drill or safety drill, unless they had it earlier or they had an option to kind of go do it whenever you want, which that's kind of been the option in the past during the return to cruising, I'll call it. But then it'll be time for sail away. And sail away, as the name mentions, is what? What happens then?
The sail away party.
Yeah, the ship leaves the port and starts to go out to sea.
And when the ship leaves port, here's an important thing that you want to do is put your phones on airplane mode. So you're not charged for Wi-Fi.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Now, along with that, a lot of cruise lines, like for example, I know Carnival and Disney, I think Norwegian was the same way, probably Royal Caribbean, but it's been a while. The ones that we've been on recently, I just listed, and they have, all these major cruise lines have a cruise app where you can get information about what's going on. Maybe there's a part that you can use to communicate with other people in a party. You can check your bill. You can reserve things. You're going to want to use that. Mm-hmm. To use that, you need to have the ship's Wi-Fi.
Yep.
The trick is, like Joy just said, before you're too far out of port, you want to have your phone on airplane mode so you're not getting charged for roaming at sea. Oh. Trust me, you don't want to find out by surprise what kind of bill that is, because it's basically satellite roaming. Yeah. But if you go to airplane mode, after you're in airplane mode, go to turn on the Wi-Fi, just the Wi-Fi, and look for that cruise ship's Wi-Fi. Then you'll be able to access everything on the app. And if you choose to purchase or you got a package that has the ship's Wi-Fi, you'll get it through that. So you want to be in airplane mode even with the Wi-Fi on. Hope that makes sense.
Yep.
So I just mentioned a few specific cruise lines, because it's the experiences we've had. Let's get into some more cruise line specific tips.
Okay.
As far as embarkation day, I'm going to throw out some cruise line names that we've been on.
Okay.
And why don't you say places where people could go to eat or hang out or whatever. Okay. Let's start. We'll go alphabetical, or at least we'll start alphabetical. Carnival Cruise Line. Where could they go to get something to eat besides a buffet? The buffet is a given. We already mentioned that.
Oh, I'm trying to. Carnival. So do they? Oh, Guy's Burger.
It took you so long.
I know.
Guy Fieri would be very disappointed.
Guy's Burger, the Seafood Shack.
Guy's Burger Joint. Seafood Shack is only on some of the Carnival ships. Slow down. Seafood Shack, I want to mention that costs extra. Okay. Right. Guy's Burger Joint, all you want on the house. It's include the price of your fare. Burgers. We got videos. We got a lot of videos where we talk about on specific Carnival ships. And then you mentioned Blue Iguana.
Oh yeah.
Also complimentary, no extra charge. And what do they have?
Tacos, soft tacos.
Burritos.
Yep. Sometimes they have, I don't think they would have it on the first day, but sometimes they do offer taco salad.
You can ask if they have the shells for them. They might make it for you. But we have a whole other video where we talk about Blue Iguana, and I'll link it in the description below.
Some Carnival ships also have big chicken.
Yeah, that's on the newer ships. That's also complimentary. That's
Mhm.
Shaquille O'Neal's Big Chicken. So delicious
Oh,
chicken sandwiches.
the
Uh,
sandwiches are really good. The chicken and
yeah,
biscuit.
well, the breakfast sandwich. Yep,
Yeah.
very good. And also, I don't know if you mentioned earlier pizza. So there's plenty of things you can get, mostly complimentary, including the price of your fare, even
Hmm.
if you don't want to go to the buffet on the first day. And you can go to those places anytime during the cruise. But hey, if you're trying to avoid the crowds when the buffet is crowded, check out these other places.
They
They're
also have.
usually on, I just want to say, sorry, they're usually found near the buffet on the same deck, on the Lido deck, either or aft of the buffet or in front by the pool. Is where you find
Forward.
those. Yeah.
So the other one to check out is also Pig and Anchor. If some Carnival ships have Pig and Anchor,
Yep.
and that's like a barbecue place. That's
Yep.
really good.
Yeah, if that's open at embarkation time, that would be a great option too. Let's move on to the next cruise line. I'm sorry. Did you have something else?
No.
Okay, next cruise line. Let's go to Disney next. We'll go alphabetical still. Disney, where can you go to get food besides the buffet on a Disney cruise?
Well, it was called Mickey's Cantina.
They have different names depending on the ships. On the
So-
Wish, it has a different name than it does on the earlier ships. But it's an area.
Usually by the Lido.
It's by the pools. Yep.
Yep.
And it's
So-
like food stands.
Right.
Right.
So Mickey had like a grilling area and
Barbecue. Mhm.
barbecue, and then there was Goofy's salads.
Yeah. Let's. I mean, that you're talking about the last ship we were on, Disney Wish. So
Yeah.
that's getting a little specific. Basically, the food stands have things like pizza, burgers, Mexican food like burritos and tacos.
Salads.
The newer ships like the Wish have the barbecue, salads. You got healthy food options. Really
And
good
that's
chicken tenders.
besides the buffet.
Yeah, but in addition to, she's saying, not next to.
Yes.
It's down on the opposite end from the pool. So if you're in the buffet area, and again, those have different names now on the different ships, but go past the pools away from the buffet and you'll find those great options also included in the price of your fare.
Yeah, and
So
I don't think we even ended up in the buffet at all on our Disney because we were trying out all the other free food stuff.
Yeah, we're getting off on a tangent a little bit here, but yeah, we didn't really eat at the buffet. There was just too many other options.
Yeah.
But they had a great setup there. They have great
did.
buffets. But I also want to mention a non-food option. It's not all foods and bars. It's not all food and bars. On embarkation day, an opportunity you don't want to miss if it appeals to you at all, because you won't be able to do it later, is that's the only time adults can go and explore the kids clubs. They have open house in most of the kids clubs when you first board the ship. So if you're wanting to check out the Oceaneer Club and see they do an incredible job. Just think of the Disney theme parks, incredible job of theming the kids areas. Can you tell them a little bit about what you've seen in some of the kids clubs?
Oh yeah, it's like Andy's toy box for the little kids, and then they have the Star Wars
Millennium Falcon
Falcon area, and they have, it's very cool. They have a gaming room for the kids, and
a lot of
well themed decorated arears for little kids, all the way up to
teenagers,
or pre-adultish teenagers.
Teenagers, yes. Yes. Once you're 18, you're not going to the kids clubs. But yeah, that's kids and teens clubs.
Yeah.
Disney does a great job with it. But again, the tip here is on embarkation day, after you've gone and gotten your buffet or your food from the stands we were just describing out there by the pool, head down to the kids clubs areas and say, hey, can I take a peek? Because that's the only day you're going to be able to do it. Because once things are underway, the ship's underway, and the rest of the cruise, it's no adults allowed. It's kids only. So
unless you're short like me, you can get away with it.
They'll ID you. Well, alphabetically, let's go to the next cruise line we've been on, and that's Norwegian. Where could you go besides the buffet on Norwegian on embarkation day for food?
You can go to their coffee shop. They have a coffee area that you like to go to.
Starbucks?
Do they have Starbucks?
Well, on the last ship we were on, I'm talking about food. Why are you going to coffee shop?
Well, okay.
Oceans.
Right. Oceans. We ate there all the time because it can provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and snacks in between. And
Yes.
you can get beer or wine
Yes, you can.
or drinks,
I
mixed
think
drinks.
we need to come up with a system where you signal me when you're done, so I know when it's time for me to talk. What's that?
I'm giving
Are
you
you
the
gonna kill me?
signal.
Okay.
No.
Okay. So Oceans, and there's a similar Irish pub. It's an Irish. So Oceans. We have a whole video about this too. I got to link that in the description down. We got to keep track. You keep track of this. Okay. So Oceans or the local on the Norwegian cruise line ships. This included food, no extra charge for the food. It's included price of your fare. Go there when you first get on board or anytime during a cruise for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or a snack. We have a great video where we show you some of the awesome food we had from breakfast into late in the day. Oceans, complimentary food. That's a great spot to go when you first board. I have heard some anecdotal information that sometimes when you first board, the menu is more limited because they're trying to feed a lot of people.
Right.
But their regular menu is quite extensive, a lot of great food. And like Joy said, you can also take advantage of your drink package or just buy a la carte drinks and beer and drinks, including mixed drinks, apparently. So Oceans or the local is a great spot to check out on Norwegian. When you go ahead.
Another great place is to go to one of your main dining rooms.
Yeah.
And you can get served all the same food that you can get at the buffet, but sitting down.
Yeah, that's many cruise lines will open their dining rooms at other times besides dinner. But not all cruise lines are going to have the dining rooms available on embarkation day for lunch. But Norwegian is really good for having their main dining rooms open for their freestyle dining just about any time you're going to want to eat. So that is a great option. And they do a really good job with their main dining food. Let's move on. The last cruise line that we've been on so far, because we got Celebrity coming up in about 6 months. But we haven't been on there yet. So Royal Caribbean. Where would you go for food if you didn't want to go to the buffet on Royal Caribbean?
They have that pizza area, Sargentos, and then
Sargentos. I think is that frozen pizza?
No, that's cheese.
Cheese. Well, they put cheese on the pizza,
right?
This video is not sponsored by any cheese making company.
But if they want to sponsor us, they can.
Anyway, Sorrento's pizza,
and there's like the bamboo room.
If they're open, I don't know if they're, and they're not on all the ships. We're getting a little specific here. But the Promenade Cafe is a great spot to go. Sometimes they have that instead of Sorrento's, but go to the promenade area of the Royal Caribbean ship if you want an indoor experience. On a lot of ships, they have the outdoor. We just mentioned it, the hot dog stand, the dog shack, and that is a great spot. Or if you want to go out by the pool, and of course the bars are all over the place, indoor and outdoors.
Yep.
So those are some specific ideas. Oh, and what I mentioned, being out by the pool, another great spot. If you're looking for a quieter spot, especially on embarkation day for the adults, they have on a lot of the Royal Caribbean ships, they have an adult-only solarium style pool area too. So,
usually the quietest area.
Yeah. So we got some more information we want to share on embarkation. We hope this is helpful. If you haven't been on a cruise before, hopefully this makes sense and is helpful.
Have so much fun.
Yeah, and if you enjoy information like this, I should mention here before we get to the end, we got more to come, but I'm going to ask you now, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe by clicking down below. That way it doesn't cost anything. This is just how you see our future videos, including our podcasts, our short form videos, which we have cruise ship information videos. We have cruise tip videos.
Yes.
All kinds of different information. We've got a few hundred videos on our channel right now, and there's more coming all the time.
Yeah.
Subscribe with the notification bell on, especially so you're notified whenever we have a new podcast or video drop.
That's right.
Yes. So what other tips do we have for embarkation day? I mentioned specific cruise lines. Or what else should we remind people of? What else on embarkation day do you do? Like maybe something specific about your cabin or stateroom. What do you do when you go to your stateroom? You finally have access. Maybe you got your bags, maybe not. What do you do? How do you get comfortable?
I like to either change into something fresh.
Okay.
Like either a swimsuit or a new dress, or because the travel clothes I've been in for a long time.
That's not what I was hinting at. That's like, wouldn't you like to freshen up? No, The first thing she does before I can even start doing a video or taking photos of the room to share with you guys, she's getting out
The hand wipes.
the Clorox wipes. She's
Clorox
wiping
wipes?
down the whole room.
Yeah.
So that's just, not everybody's going to do that, but that is a tip if you want to make the room clean. They do a great job cleaning the rooms. We have had very few experiences where we felt like the room needed more work, but she does like to sanitize the room.
Yes.
Yeah, it's been more than one occasion where I've gone to use something and she's over there trying to wipe it down. So that's a good tip.
I just want to be as clean as possible so we stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you also like to get, as soon as you get your bag, you like to get unpacked and get stuff put away, especially for the longer cruises where you want to get all kind of established.
Yeah.
She goes through and tells me the rules. Okay, this drawer is yours. These drawers are mine. I get the bottom section of the closets. You can have that top shelf up there that neither of us can reach. And we get that all situated out. And like if we're on the Disney ship with the split bathroom, she's like, I'll take this bathroom with the bath shower combo. You can have the one with the toilet. So we get all settled
it's
that way.
Not that bad.
That's pretty accurate.
No.
So
I'm not that bossy.
You're not bossy at all, but you're good at organizing the room. So otherwise, you're going to probably want to get settled in and changed so you're ready for dinner, because it won't be long. You probably won't want to spend a lot of time in your room because pretty soon the sail away party is going to be happening.
Yeah.
And you'll probably want to come back to the room to get changed for dinner after that.
Make sure you have your lanyard. Or
tell them about the lanyard. Remember, a lot of people watching these videos that haven't been on cruise before. Why do you have a lanyard? And what is a lanyard?
A lanyard is a tag holder or like a long necklace or rope.
Yeah, kind of like people might wear at work for an ID badge.
Yep. Yeah. And that card that is in the envelope by your door when you walk
on some cruise lines
to your room.
Sometimes they hand it to you at the port.
Right.
You know, your room key.
That is your room key. It's also the way you make payments and purchase stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to guard that with your life because that's how you can pay for everything and get drinks and get food and whatever and merchandise. So you want to guard that.
Yes.
But for me, since the cruise ship will generally give you one free lanyard that you can have, and it's usually like very basic. It'll say the cruise line that you're on.
Yeah.
But I like to have my lanyards color coordinated with my outfits.
Uh-huh.
So I bring a multiple variety of lanyards, like black, white, blue.
You gonna list all the colors? No. You got some with like little sparkly gemstones and stuff.
So they go, and I've learned that if I don't have a lanyard, I will lose my card. Right.
That's a lot of information about lanyards.
Yeah.
So
they're nice to have.
That's your tip from Joy on that. There's two schools, I think, when it comes to lanyards and your sail and sign card or your cruise card or room key, whatever you want to call it. Some people say, yeah, you want it on a lanyard. Other people say, no, put it in your wallet or your purse. And I put mine in my wallet. To me, it's almost like I do the same thing with hotel cards when they have the credit card style room key. I just put it in my wallet. But if you want the lanyard, if you want it convenient, because you'll be using it, you'll be accessing a lot. Now, one other thing that is happening more and more with the newer cruise ships, in order to keep the lights on in the room, they have it set up so you put your room key in a little slot by the door. Otherwise, if it's not in there, the lights will go out.
Right.
And the air conditioning, I think, even goes to a lower setting, so it's not as.
What's your trick, Dan?
My trick is to close my eyes and pretend like it's dark all the time, so I'm used to it. No, my trick is to take a business card or another credit card that I'm not worried about losing, like a library card or something like that, and put it in there. Although the last cruise we were on Disney Wish, they had a generic plain card in there for us already.
Yeah.
So I think they're realizing that system doesn't work that well because people just use something other than the room key.
Yeah.
So that might be a trick, or a little bit trickier if you're using the lanyard, because you got to fish the card in, put it in there, in addition to putting it back in and taking it. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I forgot to say too.
Yes.
That I forgot to even do this on our last cruise, but sometimes if you did not pack a deck of cards, you can go to the, what's it called? Customer service
Customer
line?
service in a
Guest services?
casino, you know?
No, not the casino.
No.
Go to guest services
Okay.
and ask them for a deck of playing cards.
How is this Embarkation Day specific?
Because you can use it to play cards when you're waiting for your room
while
to
you're
get
waiting.
ready.
Yes. We did mention cards earlier. Yes, you're right. You're right. Okay, we need to wrap this up. We're not live, but I'm still going to try to keep us from running over into 3-hour-long podcasts. Before we talk about what's coming up next time, what final thoughts do we have on Embarkation? Looks like you've gotten busy over there. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what final thoughts should we say about that people should know about Embarkation?
Remember, this is the first day of your vacation, so you don't have to do everything all in one day.
That's a good one. I'll give for my final thought, I'm going to give one tip that I kind of glossed over, which is be sure you've got your boarding pass, your passports, or whatever identification you're using, usually passport, sometimes birth certificate, and any medication that you might need in the next few hours when you go into that terminal. Don't make the mistake of putting that in your check bag. You'll need that to get in and onto the ship.
And my other takeaway is make sure when you are leaving port to have everyone in your group change their phones to airplane mode. Because you don't want to be that person that comes home with a huge cell phone bill.
That's right. Okay, so that's been our Embarkation Day information for our first podcast. Future podcasts, we're going to cover other information that we hope will be helpful, maybe a little fun, maybe a little informative, cruise day fun style information about cruising that we hope you enjoy and hope you find helpful. We're also going to work on getting some friends and some other channels to share their experiences on their cruises on future podcasts. And we have other videos we're working on coming out very soon.
Real soon.
Speaking of the podcast, this has been podcast number 1. For podcast number 2, what is going to be our topic next time?
Sea days.
Sea days.
Yeah.
Sea days. What's a sea day? Oh, a sea day.
A sea day.
A day when you're at sea. These are the days where you do not want to get off the ship. You can't.
You can't.
Do not go.
You don't want to
get
off the ship.
Yeah, that's a big mistake. So this has been our very first Cruise Day Fun podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do that and tell your friends. How do we end this thing? This is our first one. I don't know how do we end this. Are you going to end it the same way we did the other ones?
How did we end it? Remember to be safe and have fun.
Is that how we're ending it?
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks for listening and watching. Fun, fun, fun for Cruise Day Fun. Fun, fun, fun for Cruise Day Fun podcast.